The phone vibrating on the nightstand at 2 in the morning felt like a warning shot. Not loud, not frantic, just insistent, like something refusing to be ignored. I remember staring at the ceiling, already knowing that whatever waited on the other end would change the shape of my life. My wife, Marissa, had left that morning for a girls' trip to Charleston. 3 nights. For women. Ocean air, cocktails, rented laughter. I'd helped zip her suitcase, kissed her forehead at the door, joked about surviving on leftovers while she was gone. She smiled, distracted, already halfway somewhere else. I told myself that was normal. Trips do that to people. The house was too quiet without her. Even the refrigerator hum felt louder. I fell asleep on the couch with the TV on low, some late-night rerun flickering blue across the walls. When the phone buzzed, my first thought was that something had happened to her. An accident. A missed flight. Panic sat up before I did. The caller ID wasn't her name. It was Rachel. Rachel was one of the women on the trip. The loud one. The funny one. The friend who always hugged too hard and called everyone babe. I almost let it go to voicemail. There are rules you learn in marriage, unspoken ones. You don't answer your wife's friends at 2 in the morning unless the house is on fire or someone's in the hospital. I answered anyway. Hello. There was breathing on the other end. Shallow. Uneven. Then a sound that didn't belong in the middle of the night. Someone trying not to sob and failing. I didn't know who else to call, she said. Her voice cracked on every other word. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I sat up. My heart started doing that slow, heavy thud it does when it senses danger before the brain catches up. Rachel, I said carefully, what's going on? Is Marissa okay? She didn't answer right away. Instead, I heard a door close. Footsteps. The muffled echo of a hotel hallway. Somewhere far away, laughter spilled out of another room. Carefree, drunk, cruelly out of place. She's fine, Rachel whispered. Physically. She's asleep. That word landed wrong. Asleep. Not injured. Not shaken. Asleep. Then why are you calling me? I asked. Silence again. Long enough that I thought the call had dropped. Then she said my name the way people do when they're about to confess something they've been carrying like a stone in their chest. I can't hold this anymore. I pressed my thumb into the edge of the couch cushion, grounding myself. Hold what? When she finally spoke, it came out in pieces, like she was breaking something fragile just to get it through her own mouth. She told me they'd gone out after dinner. Told me about the bar near the water, the music, the way Marissa had changed after the second drink. Louder. Looser. Like someone stepping into a role she'd rehearsed before. I wanted to interrupt. To correct her. To remind her she was talking about my wife. The woman who alphabetized our spice rack. Who cried during dog food commercials. Who used to text me heart emojis from the grocery store. But I didn't. Rachel kept talking. She said my wife had disappeared for a while. That she'd come back glowing, phone clutched tight, smile unfamiliar. That later, back at the hotel, there were whispers. A balcony door left open. A room key that didn't belong to any of them. I tried to stop it, Rachel said, her voice collapsing in on itself. I swear I did. I told her to think about you. About your marriage. She just laughed. Said it was harmless. Said it didn't count if it happened on vacation. Vacation. I tasted the word like it might poison me. My mouth was dry. My ears rang. Somewhere inside me, something delicate folded in on itself and went quiet. I asked questions I didn't want answers to, heard things I couldn't unhear. Names. Times. Details I didn't need but would never forget. When the call finally ended, the house felt different. Smaller. Like the walls had shifted while I wasn't looking. I sat there until the sun started to bleed through the blinds, phone still in my hand, wondering how a single call could reach across 3 states and rearrange an entire marriage before morning. I didn't confront her that night. That still surprises people when I tell them. They imagine rage, slammed doors, shouted accusations echoing through an empty house. But I felt none of that. What I felt was colder, heavier, like my body had switched into some emergency mode where emotions were a liability. I cleaned the kitchen. I folded a load of laundry that didn't need folding. I took a shower so hot it left my skin red and raw, just to feel something definite. The whole time, my mind kept circling the same thought. She thinks I don't know. And somehow, that hurt more than what she'd done. Rachel's words replayed on a loop. The laugh. The balcony. The way Marissa had said it didn't count. I tried to reconcile that woman with the one I'd married. The one who used to grip my arm during turbulence, who cried when we signed the papers on our first house. I kept thinking there must be context I was missing. A misunderstanding. A version of the story where this still made sense. By morning, I was exhausted from trying to protect an illusion that no longer wanted protecting. Marissa texted me around 9. Miss you already. We're getting brunch by the water. I stared at the message for a long time. I could almost see her typing it, sunlit and unbothered, unaware that someone else had already shattered the version of her she thought she was presenting. I typed back have fun and deleted it. Then typed it again and hit send. 2 words. Neutral. Safe. The rest of the day crawled. Every sound felt amplified. Every car outside made me look up, half expecting her to walk back in early, smiling, ready to pick up our life exactly where she'd left it. I wondered if she'd look at me differently now that she carried a secret between us, or if secrets only change the people who don't know them. That evening, Rachel texted me again. No call this time. Just a message that read, I'm so sorry. I haven't slept. I don't know how to look at you after this. That line stuck with me. How to look at you. As if I were the one who'd changed. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened our shared photo album. Years of proof. Birthdays. Road trips. Inside jokes captured mid-laugh. I wasn't looking for evidence of betrayal. I was looking for signs. Something that would tell me this outcome had been inevitable. But all I saw were 2 people who looked like they loved each other honestly, at least at the time. That's the quiet cruelty of it. Betrayal doesn't rewrite the past. It just poisons it. When Marissa finally came home 2 days later, I met her at the door like always. Helped with her bag. Asked about the trip. She talked easily, fluidly, like someone reciting lines she'd practiced. Charleston was beautiful. The food was amazing. They laughed so much. She kissed my cheek and told me she was exhausted. I watched her closely, searching for cracks. Guilt. Fear. Anything. There was nothing obvious. Just comfort. Familiarity. Trust. Freely given, undeserved. That night, lying beside her in the dark, I realized something that scared me more than the affair itself. I could confront her whenever I wanted. But once I did, there was no going back to not knowing how easily she could lie to my face. And I wasn't ready to give that up yet. The days after her return felt like living inside a glass house. Everything looked the same, but every sound echoed differently. The way she set her keys down. The way she hummed while making coffee. I noticed things I'd never paid attention to before, as if my brain were cataloging evidence for a trial that hadn't been scheduled yet. I started to see how careful she was. Not suspicious, worse. Normal. That's what unsettled me most. She wasn't jumpy. She didn't overcompensate with affection. She didn't avoid me. She moved through our life like nothing had shifted, like the ground beneath us was still solid. At night, she slept easily. I didn't. I'd lie there staring at the ceiling fan, counting rotations, replaying Rachel's call in my head. I wondered how many times Marissa had looked at me in those weeks leading up to the trip, already knowing what she was capable of. Whether guilt had flickered at all, or if she'd already justified it before it happened. I kept telling myself I was gathering strength. That waiting was strategic. But the truth was simpler and uglier. I was afraid. Afraid of the moment where denial would no longer be an option. Afraid of seeing her eyes when I said the words out loud. On the 4th night back, she reached for me in bed. Casual. Familiar. Her hand resting on my chest like it had 1,000 times before. My body reacted out of muscle memory before my mind caught up, and I hated myself for that. I gently shifted away, pretending I was tired. She didn't push. Just turned over and went to sleep. That hurt more than I expected. The next morning, while she was in the shower, her phone lit up on the nightstand. I hadn't planned to look. I told myself I wouldn't. But the screen was already on, a notification glowing in the dim room. A name I didn't recognize. A message preview I couldn't ignore. Last night was still on my mind. My hands shook as I picked up the phone. I half expected it to lock instantly, to deny me access like a final act of loyalty. But it didn't. I scrolled, slowly, deliberately, as if moving too fast might break something fragile inside me. There it was. Not poetic. Not romantic. Just casual intimacy. Familiar jokes. An ease that takes time to build. This wasn't a mistake made in the heat of vacation. This was a continuation. The shower turned off. I set the phone back exactly where it had been and sat on the edge of the bed, my heart pounding so loudly I was sure she'd hear it. When she walked out, towel around her hair, She smiled at me like always. "Everything okay?" she asked. I nodded. "Yeah, just tired." The lie slid out smoothly. Too smoothly. That scared me too. That afternoon, Rachel called again. I let it ring twice before answering. Her voice was steadier this time, but still heavy with something like shame. "She doesn't know I called you," she said quickly. "But I can't pretend anymore. It wasn't just the one night. It's been going on for months." Months. I closed my eyes. The word landed with weight, flattening any remaining hope I'd been holding onto without realizing it. Rachel told me everything then. How long she'd known, how uncomfortable it made her, how Marissa had sworn her to secrecy. How this trip wasn't the beginning, just the moment it stopped being hidden. When the call ended, I sat alone in my car for nearly an hour, parked in a grocery store lot I hadn't meant to stop at. I realized something in that stillness. Something quiet but absolute. I wasn't waiting because I didn't know what to do. I was waiting because I was saying goodbye to the version of my life where she was the person I trusted most. And once that version was gone, there would be no reason to keep pretending anymore. I waited until Sunday evening. There was no grand reason for choosing it. No symbolism I could explain if asked. It just felt like the right moment. The end of a week, the quiet before another cycle began. She was in the kitchen, barefoot, wearing one of my old t-shirts, stirring a pot of soup like nothing in the world was wrong. That image alone almost stopped me. Almost. "Can we talk?" I asked. She glanced over her shoulder and smiled. Of course. No hesitation. No tension. That was the last clean moment we ever had. We sat at the table where we'd planned vacations, argued about paint colors, signed refinance papers. I remember noticing a small chip in the wood near my thumb and wondering how long it had been there. Funny what your brain clings to when it's bracing for impact. "I know about Charleston," I said. The words were calm. Flat. Not accusatory. They felt practiced even though I'd never said them out loud before. Her smile faltered. Not dramatically, just enough. A micro-expression. The kind you miss if you're not already looking for it. "What do you mean?" she asked. And there it was. The lie. Not defensive. Not panicked. Just reflexive. That hurt more than anything else. "I know about him," I continued. "I know it wasn't just the trip. I know it's been months." Silence filled the space between us, thick and heavy. Her eyes searched my face, calculating, trying to figure out how much I knew and where to start repairing the damage. Finally, her shoulders dropped. "Who told you?" she asked quietly. Not "I'm sorry." Not "it didn't mean anything." "Who told you?" That was the moment something inside me finally let go. She talked after that. A lot. About feeling disconnected. About feeling seen by someone else. About how it just happened, and how she never meant to hurt me. She cried at the right moments, reached for my hand once and pulled back when I didn't respond. I listened. I really did. Not because I was looking for excuses, but because I needed to hear who she was now, without the mask. When she finished, she waited. Hope flickered in her eyes. Not certainty, hope. As if this were still a negotiation. "I wish you'd just told me," she said softly. "We could have fixed this." I shook my head. "No. You could have chosen not to break it." She flinched, like the words had weight. I didn't yell. I didn't insult her. I just told her I was done. That trust, once broken this cleanly, doesn't come back through effort or therapy or time. It comes back through character. And this wasn't a lapse. It was a pattern. She asked if there was someone else. I almost laughed. "No," I said. "There's just me." Finally. She moved out 2 weeks later. Quietly. Boxes. Logistics. Polite conversations that felt like small talk with a stranger. The house felt empty, then lighter, then painfully quiet in a different way. Healing didn't arrive all at once. It came in fragments, sleeping through the night, laughing without guilt, realizing I could breathe again. Sometimes I think about that phone call at 2 in the morning. How close I was to not answering. How easily my life could have continued on a lie for years longer. Rachel sent one final message months later. "I hope you're okay." I never replied. Not out of anger. Just because some chapters don't need footnotes. What I learned is simple. Even if it hurt to earn, love doesn't disappear all at once. It erodes quietly. And sometimes the people we trust most are the last ones to hear the truth. But once you do, once you really hear it, you don't owe anyone your silence anymore.